Hello, everyone. Dr. Stillman and Jim Laird here. We are really excited to be bringing you the fundamentals of wellness. Jim, hello. Thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm great. Everyone drop a 1 in the chat so long as our audio is good. And without further ado, we are going to jump right into our presentation for today. All right, so today we are talking about secrets of health and wellness in 2023. And specifically, we're talking about the solution to this problem, which is the fundamentals of wellness. It's a new course and coaching opportunity that Jim and I are offering. And we want to talk to people about why we love the fundamentals and why they really are the secrets of health and wellness in 2023 and frankly, forever. So these are the secrets we use to help our patients and technically clients look and feel their best in 2023. These are the ones that I depend on as a doctor to get people off meds, out of the doctor's office. We're going to talk about what most people get wrong about these secrets and how Jim and I can help you look and feel your best through our new online course and coaching program. So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a board certified general internist. I specialize in functional and integrative medicine. I've been on podcasts with Ben Greenfield, Joe Mercola. I've worked all over the country, studied with some of the top minds in functional and integrative medicine. And now Jim and I work together. Jim is a strength coach with 25 years of experience. He's coached everyone from, people who are now D1 strength coaches to Olympic level athletes. Jim, you want to add anything to that?
I've worked with everything you could possibly imagine. And the nice thing about me is a lot of my clients I had over a 20-year period. So, what you have to do with somebody to improve someone over 20 years, it's one thing to get somebody well for an event or, work with them for 8 weeks and make some improvements. So how do you keep someone progressing and keep them from regressing over a long period of time? So I bring a lot of insight into that, into actual coaching and the mental side of things and helping people work through a lot of things, a lot of mental things, because, that's the kind of things you have to do when you work with somebody for like 20 years.
That's exactly right. Yeah. All right, so we do have an opportunity for people to work with us. It's going to be a time-sensitive offer at the end. So if you want your spouse to be in on that conversation, I know a lot of you, you do want that. Grab them, bring them into the webinar, have them watch it so they can understand what we're offering and why it's great. All right, before I jump into what we're going to talk about, here's where you can find us. I'm over on Substack, which is where my blog, Dr. Stillman Uncensored, is, and I'm at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at StillmanMD. Jim is most active on Instagram as at Jim Laird, GYMLAIRD. Jim, you want to add anything to that on where people can contact you?
That's pretty much it. Instagram. I mean, you can find my old Jim Laird. I still post on my Jim Laird. I named my Jim Laird kind of as a play on words. My name is Jim, and it's just kind of a funny thing. But If you do a Google search, it'll pull up all my other socials as well. But the main one, Instagram, is the one I check the most and the one I post the most. So that's the place to find me.
All right. So how did all this begin? Jim and I both got here out of sheer curiosity. I think it's safe to say we live in a time of unprecedented wealth and knowledge, and yet we've never been sicker. You've probably wondered why that is. Jim and I wondered it so much that we fell into the job of basically keeping people well and helping people who were sick get well and meet their wellness goals. And the paradox, right, that all this plays into is really how can we know so much about how to be healthy and well, and yet as a society be struggling as never before with epidemics of modern diseases, right? That's how Jim and I got here, and that's why we created this program. So the fundamentals of wellness. This is the secret to great results. It's attention to the fundamentals. However, the fundamentals tend to be boring. People get distracted, but they are vitally important, and they ultimately make or break people's illnesses. So let's talk about what really is fundamental. These are the major risk factors for disease in our modern world. They are not as talked about as they should be. They're often very misunderstood, but they're fundamentally very simple, right? And honestly, beyond these things, which all deserve plenty of unpacking and attention and more detail, right? Beyond these things, there's really not that much that actually increases your risk of getting a serious disease, let alone dying from it. And they are lack of sunlight and low vitamin D levels, shift work, which basically means exposure to artificial light at night and staying up too late, psychosocial stress, big laundry list of things that go into that, right? excessive sugar and processed food, lack of exercise, lack of muscle mass, as in lack of weight training and lack of muscle as a result, dehydration and lack of proper hydration, and then nutritional deficiencies. So these are the big things that we see actually derailing people's wellness, and this is why we created a course to address them. So habits are fundamental. Everybody knows this. You've heard it before. Aristotle said we are the sum of our actions, and therefore our habits make all the difference. One of my favorite Chinese proverbs is the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. People are always kicking the can of their fundamental habits and choices down the road. And we created this program so that people won't do that anymore and will actually figure out what they need to do to be well. So we're going to cover today what the fundamentals of wellness are. We're going to talk about why they're fundamental, and we're going to talk about, how Jim and I help people to implement them. Although obviously we can't talk about exactly how to implement them in the course of an hour, which is what we're planning on the webinar. So the 5 fundamental habits that we start people with are: go outside at least 3 times a day, eat a protein at every meal, drink high quality water, get the lights off at night, and have a social life. Jim and I came up with these, I guess, together, although I feel like sometimes he came up with most of them. And then we just sort of fell into starting people with these because this was enough to keep them busy for a long period of time. And a lot of that has to do with getting people to actually engage and figure out how they're going to integrate this into their life. All right. When we created this course, one of the things we came up against was, if it's this simple, how are we going to make it into a course? And how are we going to get people to join the course? The simple reality is that we saw over and over again that what made or broke a case was whether or not people actually did these simple fundamental things. And there's this great quote from Sun Tzu's The Art of War: strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. And what that really means is that a lot of people have heard of all these different things. If you follow Jim and I on social media, you've heard all the stuff we've shared with you just now, right? But it is amazing how few people actually integrate this into their lives, often because they don't know how to do it, and often because, simply as a fact of human nature, people don't do what they're not held accountable to do. And so with strategy, right, the big strategy things are like getting enough sunlight, eating proper food, diet and exercise, right? Tactics are more what exact food, how do you prepare it, what time should you be outside, how long, all these other things. These are really important, and they get completely lost in terms of how to actually implement them in the modern mainstream narrative about health and wellness, and also in the less mainstream, alternative, integrative, natural medical world that Jim and I tend to live in. So we've seen person after person fail to implement these things despite knowing about them. And a lot of that's because they base their understanding on popular opinions that they hear in media, social media, rather than actually learning how to do it through a real course. So like I said, 99% of the people who sign up to work with us, regardless of how they sign up to work with us, very complicated, expensive, in-depth laboratory testing, coaching with Jim, coming into one of our group coaching courses, 99% of them have heard of the fundamentals, but 0% of them are executing the fundamentals with anywhere close to 100% success. And they may not need 100%, but they need to get at least to 80%. And the number 1 and 2 causes of failure long-term for cases in our practice would be failure to engage, which means a failure to show up, talk to us, troubleshoot with us, and discuss your case with us, and then failure to execute, which means not following through on really important, really critical things, specifically the things we're going to cover in this course. So one of the things that happens when we confront people with all this is they say, well, yes, but I have a bunch of other things that I want to do rather than these fundamentals, right? But what we've found over and over and over again is that people who don't engage with the fundamentals rarely, if ever, get good results. They never get durable results, as in they'll come back to us and they'll say, well, I didn't do what you recommended, but I did this other thing and it worked for 6 months and now it's not working anymore. And now I want to get started because I know now that I should have started with you guys and not done this other thing that, you told me wasn't going to get these durable results. So people will chase IV nutrition, they'll chase pharmaceuticals, biohacks, complicated supplement protocols. It's not that we don't use these things, it's that we don't rely on them over the fundamentals because we don't see them working. And then more complicated things like peptides, surgeries, medical procedures. I mean, the number of people who come to us who go through, a $5,000 medical procedure or surgery that could easily have been prevented, or that they maybe didn't need if they would just have engaged with the fundamentals, is astounding. So, Jim, anything you want to add to that?
The big part of this is that our modern day life pretty much pulls us away from the fundamentals. So it's our job to help you figure out how you implement these things into your modern life so you still have a life and you can find that balance. And then the accountability factor, and then also making sure that you're only implementing what you can handle. A lot of people will do way too many things at once, thinking they need to do like 30 things when they only need to do one or two. So a lot of this is just years of experience and helping guide you through this process so you can build these habits so you have a foundation.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And so we hear a lot of objections as well from people about, well, I can't do this. This is not going to work for me. And this all goes back to, well, what is it really going to work for me? Right. The objections we most commonly hear are, I don't have time. It's dark or rainy where I live. I can't go outside. It's too hot. It's too cold. There's too many bugs. Many people tell us they're already eating the right diet. If I had $1 for every time someone had told me that they eat a perfect diet, I could retire. And there's always mistakes that they're making. There's always things they don't realize about their diet that are derailing their progress and really harming them long term. We hear from people who are vegetarian, they're vegan. We may need to really talk about that and change them over to an animal-based diet template, which is what Jim and I see working for people, time and again. And then people saying that their work schedules will not accommodate different things within the fundamentals. We hear you and we understand. That's why we said I say it's not as simple as just, you got to do all this stuff. We are here to help you understand how to get it done for your unique context. And that's what we cover in the course. So I want to go through some real world cases for people to help you understand exactly how this kind of looks when we actually take on a case, because we created this course having worked with a number of people together in tandem and having seen exactly how powerful these fundamental things and fundamental habits were for people's wellness. So Caroline came to us, busy wife, mother of 5. She had crippling fatigue, brain fog. She's a health coach. She's a professional therapist. And one of the things that I remember her telling us is that she sort of knew all the things. She knew, she needed to eat and diet and exercise. And she even asked me when I told her she was going to work with Jim, she said, well, is he really that good? I mean, I've already got a health coaching certification myself, and I'm not really sure I'm going to get a lot out of this, right? She's worked with Jim, and we'll talk about the results she's gotten in a second. But she could not maintain her train of thought, cook wholesome meals, keep track of essential tasks, figure out exactly what to eat, or find the energy to exercise or go outside. So she has all this information, all this knowledge, all this background, and yet something's not right. She's really not doing well. So what happened with her case? After about 12 weeks, 12, 16, whatever, matter of a few months, now she can read for hours instead of seconds. She can keep track of day-to-day tasks. She can keep up with her kids and her husband. She can spend the entire day outside without feeling exhausted. And we did all this without crazy supplement protocols, without drugs or pharmaceuticals, fancy crazy biohacks, detox protocols, or procedures and surgeries. We might have used half a dozen supplements based on some lab testing that she did. That's true of the 3 cases we're going to go through today. But honestly, in a lot of these cases, we wouldn't even needed to do the supplementation protocols with the labs. A lot of people coming to us just making simple dietary changes that Jim and I will recommend get them all the mileage they need in order to get what they want out of working with us. Jim, you remember that case? You want to add your thoughts?
Very much so. This young lady was so overwhelmed with information. She was worrying about all sorts of different things from EMF, and not saying that EMF is not a thing to be worried about, but I kept going back to like, are you eating a protein at every meal? No. Are you going outside in the morning? Are you walking 3 times a day? No. Are you drinking high quality water? No. Then don't worry about all that until you've done those 2 or 3 things for a month consistently. are you making time for you? You know, a lot of times mothers, like I've worked a ton with women. The majority of my clients have been women, and most women put all the needs of everyone else ahead of themselves. Are you making time for yourself? Well, no, I'm not. Well, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. So reminding her of that. And once she started doing those things, she's like, oh, I start feeling better. I'm sleeping better. I have more energy. And so she knew so much, but that was part of the problem. She was spinning in her head and she wasn't doing anything. So, you know, the inaction, it's better to do a few things really well than a whole bunch of things really crappy, you know? And any type of exercise she was doing, she didn't have the physical base to handle the exercise. And she was exhausted and beat up. So the exercises we started introducing her to were more restorative in nature to prepare her for when she's in a better place so she can train hard. The biggest mistake I see people making is trying to out-train a bad lifestyle. So you're tired, you're exhausted, you're run down, and then you're going to
see this all the time.
You're going to go do HIIT classes thinking that's going to fix the problem. It's kind of like having a car with bad brakes, bald tires, and a slipping transmission, and you're going to go drive it harder to fix it. So we had to basically build some fundamentals with her and keep her focused on just a few simple things. And it really went a long way. And of course, when I talk to her I still talk with her. She's like, well, I'm kind of struggling right now. Well, have you been walking outside? Well, no, I got busy and I kind of slacking on that right now. And my protein hasn't been that great. I'm like, well, you got it. Same with my clients that I've had for 20 years. The people, they'd be struggling. They'd be like, well, I've gained some weight. Well, what's the deal? Well, I started watching Netflix at night and, you know, it's affected my sleep. And then I started eating more sugar. So you need to get back to getting the lights off at night. So a lot of this is accountability and reminding people, hey, you know, when things get tough, you just got to get back to the basics and you got to double down on the fundamentals.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other piece of that is tactics, which is people have this big strategy. They know that they need to eat, they know that they need to eat right and exercise and whatever, but you know, they'll spend time doing HIIT classes for exercise instead of restorative stuff when they're really not ready for the HIIT.
Right.
All right. So second case, Deborah, retiree, but not feeling her best. She was in a great place. I mean, like house on a golf course, you know, great weather, happy marriage, loving kids, but she was not feeling well. She was fatigued all the time. She was struggling with weight gain. She had a newly diagnosed autoimmune skin condition, and she was worried about heart issues and then high blood pressure, for which she was on some medications. She could not find the energy to do much more than sit around the house. She wasn't sure what to do for exercise, had no background, no experience with, you know, going to the gym or doing any kind of weight training, didn't know what to eat and didn't know what supplements to take, but was sure that she needed something because she wasn't feeling well. So after about 12 weeks, she's got more energy than she's had in years. She's been able to stop all of her blood pressure meds. She's lost 12 pounds. She's gained muscle. She's gotten her skin issues pretty much completely under control. I will say we did start some bioidentical hormones. So I arguably can't say that I didn't use any drugs, but I used 100% natural, organic drugs in this particular case, and like one or two, right? She didn't have to do any crazy biohacks. She didn't need any crazy workout routines. She didn't need any extreme supplement protocols. Only 6 supplements were in her original protocol for me based on some lab testing. That, again, I was not surprised by the lab abnormalities. We could have done the case without the lab testing and just done it empirically with food or just trying different supplements to see what worked. Jim, you remember that case?
Very much so. And the big thing with her is just starting where she was. A lot of people start like, say here, I'm here in Tampa, right? Say I want to drive to Los Angeles. I don't know why I'd want to do that. But if I was going to drive to Los Angeles, I can't start in Denver. I can't start in St. Louis. I have to start in Tampa. And so she was under so much low energy. It was like, let's just go outside and have your coffee, your morning thing. Just do it outside.
Yeah.
Do that at lunch. And then when you start feeling better, let's go for a 3-minute walk. You know, we started with like a 3-minute walk. And then we went to a 5-minute walk. And then it was a 6-minute walk. And then it was a 10-minute walk. Instead of just, you know, starting people where they are, a lot of people, they start off way too fast and then they crash and burn instead of just slowly building momentum and having little victories and, you know, getting positive reinforcement for those habits. They start off with way too much on their plate and then they end up crashing and burning. over time. And then if you establish those habits, even if you do kind of wane on them a little bit, they're at least there and they're reinforced, so you don't completely lose them, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you try and install too many things at once, and then we basically gave her some really simple 5 minutes of floor exercises to do every day, really got her, creative ways for her to get more protein in her diet, real simple things that she could, easily do. And then from there, we slowly started implementing a really very simple strength training program. And, when you have somebody who's never really exercised or trained before, you really don't have to do that much to get results. A lot of people do way too much, and the body doesn't need a lot when it's untrained. And, as you've learned, it doesn't take much to put on a bunch of muscle mass, like for you, Dr. Stillman, when you haven't trained much. So, the first couple years, if you've never trained much before, and if you're sleeping and you're making an effort to get outside and you're eating enough protein, you can get some phenomenal results with just a few simple things. And then as time goes on, you have to change your strategy and you have to use more advanced tactics. But most people never really ever get to that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Next case, last case. So Benjamin came to us. He's a father, husband, dealing with worsening autoimmune conditions or arthritis last fall. This had been worsening for years, but he was really getting to the point where he had crippling symptoms. He was not able to sleep through the night. He never felt rested. He couldn't get relief from his joint pain to be able to engage in just basic daily activities, right? He couldn't find the energy to do more than really just sit at a desk or watch TV. And that was pretty much, his life. Work, watch TV, go to sleep. Fair, Jim?
Fair.
Yeah. So now after 12 weeks, with really just engaging with the fundamentals, he's sleeping as soundly as possible. And when I say that, I mean, he gave us like 100% sleep score on his fitness tracker just a few weeks ago, which is not the first time we've actually seen that in someone we've worked with. He's able to move and exercise without crippling pain, and his pain's getting better and better and better, although it's not entirely gone. He's losing weight that he needed to lose. He's gaining muscle that he needed to gain, and he's generally feeling better and better every day. And again, we did it without drugs. We did it without biohacks. We did it without crazy workout routines. We did it without crazy supplement protocols or procedures or surgeries. Again, I might have used half a dozen supplements. I wasn't surprised by which ones I had to use. We did it with testing in his case, but we could have done it with just food and empiric supplementation in all likelihood. Jim, add your thoughts on that case.
Well, this gentleman, one of the big things we did with him was getting him to slow down enough so that he could become self-aware. And just by installing simple things like going for walks and then, some time for him to just be quiet and calm, he discovered that basically one of his coping mechanisms, which was alcohol, was destroying his health. And that's one of the reasons we really like the Aura Ring. He's like, anytime I drink, everything goes to heck. I have a flare up in my autoimmune condition, my sleep. He's like, I can't use this as a habit anymore to manage my stress in my life and what's going on in my life, because it was destroying it. So we were able to put in other habits to replace the alcohol. And as he got healthier, he didn't need that alcohol anymore. But getting him to basically do he wasn't doing anything. He basically sat in an office in front of a screen all day as a programmer. And so by getting him to slow down and to get outside and get healthy enough and present enough to realize, oh, hey, a lot of the things I'm doing for my habits, instead of positive habits, are negative habits. And the ring was telling him what he needed to do. And he basically came to the conclusion that I need to step away from alcohol. That's the number one cause of my problems. We didn't have to tell him that. He figured it out on his own, which is really, really cool. It makes it much easier when people figure out on their own that they're being self-destructive. They tend to do a better job of making changes when they come to that realization on their own, instead of us just like preaching or hitting them over the head with a hammer, right?
Right. But what you said there is really important, which is that only when people engage with the fundamentals do they tend to gain the self-awareness and insight to understand, okay, this is what I'm doing that's really holding me back. This is what I'm doing that's really destroying my health. And this is what I have to give up or have to do. Right. And developing the willpower to then follow through on that is largely a matter of engaging with the fundamentals so that your brain, your body are in a place where you can do that.
Yeah, because when you're basically running like a chicken with its head cut off, and you're tired, you're exhausted, you're malnourished, you have sleep deprivation, you just become this like automatic, like complacent, compliant consumer. And you're eating a whole bag of chips, you're drinking alcohol. I mean, I dealt with that with my traumatic brain injury. Like, you turn into a human vacuum cleaner, and it's almost impossible to stop. And the only way to stop is to become present enough to shut that loop off so you can actually make choices as opposed to just consuming.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's doing much better. He's feeling great. All right. So the Fundamentals of Wellness program that Jim and I have put together is a course. It's got 8 different presentations. They are on topics from sleep to hydration, posture, breathing mechanics, light, diet, exercise. We cover all the fundamentals, all the key things that we see people missing. And we cover our strategy and our tactics for how to get them right so that you can get really great results that are also durable and that last. We have included in this some group coaching sessions. For those of you who don't know, Jim and I now do group coaching. We started that, I think, 5 to 6 months ago now. And we've been slowly expanding what we're offering people. And I have to say that this has been really transformative in the practice because, when I was limited to one-on-one consultations, it was very expensive. I could only reach 5, 10, 15, 20 people at a time, in a given week because of the amount of time I spend with people. And now we're actually able to really help way more people. And what I like to say is that 98% of people need to hear the 98% of the same stuff. And it would be crazy for all of you to even try to get in with somebody one-on-one to hear it. So we are offering these group coaching sessions. We've found that under 30 is a good number and not everybody shows up. So what we're offering you today and for the rest of the weekend until 9 a.m. on Monday morning is we're going to do one group coaching session every month for every 30 people who enroll. So 300 people enroll, 10 group coaching sessions a month. I'll be honest with you, when we do group webinars, coaching, whatever, I would say 1 in 10 people shows up, which means that if 300 people show up and there's, or 300 people sign up and there's 10 coaching calls, there's a really solid chance you'll actually get a one-on-one with us, even if we've got hundreds of people in the program. I can't promise that, obviously, but it doesn't really matter. Even if it's not a one-on-one, you're going to get plenty of time with us to ask your questions and get them answered.
And there's obviously, you'll obviously have access to the recordings. And then the nice thing about this is because it's on a little smaller scale, I'll be able to get specific context to your situation. And I plan on doing videos like if you want me to demo an exercise or you want me to get into detail on what you're talking about based on what your goals are, those sort of things, I can give detailed video answers and put them up in Kajabi in our course. So you'll have access to all the recordings. It's really good also to listen to Dr. Stillman and I problem solve with people and walk them through different things.
Yes.
I've heard that a number of times from people. They're like, I was listening to you talk to somebody else, asking them questions, trying to get to the root cause and like the things they need to work on. And it just hit me like I figured it out just by listening to you talk to somebody else. So, and I think it was great. There's great benefit in people listening and hearing that other people are struggling with a lot of the same things they are. So it's a great learning opportunity to basically get into a community of people, ask the questions. We'll be able to provide a lot of detail and a lot of context, particularly for myself. I'm really looking forward to that. So.
Absolutely.
And
yeah. We're just coming out of a really big thyroid program that we did, which was, resounding success. Everyone was super happy with the results that they got and with the experience that they had. So we're really excited to keep going with group coaching. So the value for this, normally the Fundamentals of Wellness is priced at $597. Group coaching calls with Jim and I, we charge $250 for each occurrence. So 12 calls is a $3,000 value. So the total value of the program that we're offering you today, $35.97. It's a lot, but we have a special offer. It is only going to be, great, there we go, $79 monthly for 12 months for a total of $948. That's available until Monday at 9 a.m., after which prices are going to vary. We're going to send them up, send them down. Different promotions will come out. But I don't think we're ever going to offer the program and the course for this low of a price for the value that we know we deliver to people who join up and engage and show up to the group coaching calls and then go through the content we've prepared in these presentations. That really is the absolute best information that we share with people, the most important and the most impactful for people to get really good and durable results. So Jim just dropped the offer in the chat, and I'm putting out another button that you guys can use to sign up. And if anyone's got questions, drop them in the chat, or you can come in and ask Jim and I questions directly.
Yeah, we had a question when the monthly group coaching sessions will be. Right now, it's the second Saturday of every month. I believe it was at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Was that 3 p.m. Eastern?
We did say 3 p.m. in the afternoon, group coaching sessions, second Saturday of each month. But as people, sign up, more and more people sign up, we're going to offer a wider variety of different options for people. If we have, for example, 120 people sign up, we said 30 or one group coaching session per month for every 30 people, right? So we might do a Tuesday evening, a Thursday morning. We have lots of people who are living across the pond, who are living over in Southeast Asia. We know that they want to have times that are not typical for people here on the East Coast of the United States.
Well, and at the worst case scenario too, if you can't tune in at the time available because you are in Europe,
right?
Just on Kajabi, there's places where you can leave comments. Just put your question in there, and we'll get to it.
Yeah, so we can do that too. People can drop questions in our coaching program, and we'll just address those questions as we go through the group coaching calls, which of course, as Jim mentioned, will be recorded.
Yeah, and they'll be recorded, and then also I will be taking the recording and creating like a bullet point summary with timestamps. Mm-hmm. So you'll be able to look at it in bullet point form and go oh, I like that one. You don't have to watch the whole call. You can basically see, there's a question I find interesting and go to it to help save you time. Because there's nothing worse than, I used to belong to some other group coaching calls, and they'd have a 3-hour call, and and there was no timestamp. There was nothing. You'd have to listen to the whole thing. And you sit there and you're like, well, half of this I didn't even want to listen to. So
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Anyone else has questions? Drop them in the chat. Jim, you got any other last thoughts?
No, I'm just looking forward to really helping people figure out what their big rocks are and helping people learn about the things they can do to best take care of themselves and put themselves in a situation. The big thing that Dr. Stillman and I want to do, and one of the things that separate us from other people, is we want to make you more resilient so you can handle stress, right? But in order to do that, you have to have working in, things like walking outside, things like sleeping. You got to make these things a priority so that you can handle more stress in life. The problem is most people are already exhausted. They're already tired, and they're trying to push harder. We just want to make sure you're doing the maintenance on your car so that when you do have to drive your car hard, you can, right?
That's exactly right. So Michael asked a great question. And Michael, to explain a little bit more. So he mentioned he signed up for the couples annual membership program, which includes access to this program. So the way that we have this set up, and this is kind of semantic, but it becomes relevant because of the way the laws are written. We have a medical practice over here, and then we have a coaching program over here. And I can't mix the two because of the way our dearly beloved government has written the laws. So I can't coach people, or I can coach people anywhere, but I can't practice medicine all over the world or all over the country. So I had to separate them. You'll get access to the videos as part of your annual membership at my medical practice, but these are coaching calls that are within the coaching business as opposed to the medical practice. In the medical practice, you'll still get group coaching calls, but they're not going to be part of this program. So if you want more calls with Jim and I, that's, sign up for both because you'll have that option then. So Charles, your question about the labs. So, we may be able to go and look at your lab specifically, but it does depend on what kind of time we have and the number of questions that we've got from other people in the calls. We don't want to let people monopolize them, but people often come in with questions about, what kind of labs should I get? What do these labs mean? When should I have them repeated? And because of the way the laws are written around this, I can say, and this sounds so ridiculous, I can't believe the way that the lawyers have made all this so complicated, but I can say things like a high ferritin is indicative of iron overload. And therefore, in my practice, when a patient comes in with a ferritin of 500, I'll often consider blood donation, right? But if I tell you that I recommend that you go donate blood, I've just practiced medicine. So I can teach you anything I want on a coaching call. And so if you bring in a bunch of material that I can then teach you about, right? It's this very weird semantic thing that the lawyers, split hairs over just endlessly. So that's how that works. The answer is yes, kind of, but it's not the same as having me be your doctor. Irene, that's weird. So you're saying you had some problem getting into the webinar. I don't know what that's about, but we'll look into it. Lab reviews will not be included in this program, but like I said, in response to Charles's question, people often come to coaching calls with labs and they want us to talk to them about what they mean. And we can do that in an educational way, but I can't do it as I'm your doctor. Here's what I think about your labs and what I think you should do. Karen, yes, the Oura Ring is the fitness tracker that we love the most. We talk about this kind of thing with people in our coaching calls all the time. So I encourage you to sign up for the course and we'll help you understand what you're getting from your Oura Ring or what you're getting from other fitness tracking devices.
And one of the big reasons we love the Oura Ring is not only because it becomes your personal coach, but you can also wear it in airplane mode, which most of the devices you can't do. We're not a big fan of things broadcasting off you all day. So that's
exactly right. Patricia, I love your comment. Yes, you need the accountability. And you mentioned I'm already healthy. Maybe coaching is the best way to improve my well-being. That's largely what Jim and I have found. We always love to get people labs to make sure that nothing's wrong, so to speak, under the hood. But one of the things people will come to coaching calls with is questions like, what kind of labs do you recommend that are, often covered by insurance, or that I can go to my GP and request, right? I just walked, a patient through that this week who wasn't getting them through me, he was getting them through his regular doctor. And people will come to coaching calls and we'll help them with that as well. So I definitely think we basically made this program for people like you who are healthy enough that you don't need to come to Jim and I for some very, intensive, very complicated lab work and physical exams and stuff like that. But you do want to engage with us and you want to get some guidance and understand what's going on with you so that you can stay well and not need, lots and lots of medical care.
Well, and the thing is, too, is the thing we can do for you, if you're already healthy, we can make you even more resilient than you already are. Build these habits when you're in a good place of health. So then if you do have a major trauma or a stress, you have these habits are built in automatically and you're doing them habitually, you're even more resilient so you can handle a bigger trauma or a bigger stress.
That's right.
So that's a constant, it's a constant adjustment of self-care. I have to at certain times up my self-care. Sometimes I can get away with, in the summer, I can get away with a lot more shenanigans than I can in the wintertime. And it just all depends. And it's a constant reassessment, and we can teach you how to do that for yourself.
That's what we do fundamentally. Yeah. Lisa, so this course is different from the medical practice. If you want to sign up for the medical practice, stay tuned to our emails, because part of why Jim and I are doing this is that it takes a lot of time for me to onboard clinicians who can take care of people. And I'm tapped out for the amount of time that I have for new patients. And so I'm onboarding those clinicians as quickly as possible. But in the meantime, I don't want to leave people hanging and not educate them. So again, stay tuned for the emails, because when we have clinicians who are ready to see new patients, that's where it's going to get published. But in the meantime, I recommend that you sign up for this. For people who sign up for this through the coaching program, right, we'll give them a discount on the other side with the medical side, so they're not paying twice for a course that they've already gone through with our coaching program, if that makes sense. Jim, any last thoughts?
No, just looking forward to helping people. Tell you what, Dr. Stillman and I really love doing these group coaching calls. It's so much fun for us, and it's a great opportunity for us to help more people. Don't get me wrong, I like doing one-on-one stuff too as well. But both of us, one of the reasons we're doing this is we want to help as many people as possible at a reasonable price.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's our calling. We want to help as many people as possible. And the main thing we want to do is help you help yourself, right? And that's essentially what this course is going to do, is give you the tools and the foundation so that you can become your own healer.
That's exactly right. And on that note, I think we'll sign off. Thanks everyone for attending. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask them. And if you have questions and you want to contact someone, you can email stillmanmd@stillmanmd.com, and we'll do our best to get back to you in a timely fashion.